Lily tightened her apron, grabbed the hot tray of coffee cups, and began her morning as she always did. She wasn't wealthy from working at Mondo Brews, the tiny cafe on 5th Street, but she double-checked the delivery list. Rent was covered, and she had something to do. She enjoyed living a basic, quiet life remote from everything. Dramatic. But on that particular day, the Asteria was the place where she was delivered, not some dreary office or bookstore. The most costly tower in the city, the hotel is inhabited by wealthy individuals and celebrities. Her pulse began to beat a little quicker as she entered the elevator lined with gold, something she had only seen on magazine covers. When the elevator opened, Lily blinked at the scene. The person she was delivering the order to simply said, "Puete top floor." Before her, the white marble flooring led to windows that overlooked the entire city and the center of it. Ray Carter, the world's most famous actress, stood tall. The Oscar-winning beauty that everyone loved had a certain quality about her gentle eyes that donned a silk robe, had the ability to melt ice, and a voice that constantly seemed to be whispering secrets, making Lily freeze in place. And without makeup, she somehow managed to seem even more stunning than she did on film. Rye grinned. "You're the coffee girl." Lily motioned for her to come in, saying, "Bring it in, sweetheart," as she nodded too astonished to speak. As Lily walked into the suite, she became acutely conscious of her unkempt hair and shoddy shoes, so she put the marble counter with drinks you always deliver. Rye inquired as he approached her robe. "Sometimes depends who's available," Lily muttered as Rye took a sip. "You made this yourself?" "I did. Yeah, I made it," Lily said, nodding once more, kept her gaze on Lily's face for an extended period of time while licking her lips and saying, "It's good you've got a steady hand," was at a loss for words, so she looked toward the door. Ray murmured, her voice lower now. "Don't leave yet. Sit down." Lily blinked. "Come sit with me for a moment." "Undoubtedly, you have already entered a stranger's spot, might as well be occupied." Suddenly, Lily took a seat on Ray Carter's velvet couch as if nothing unusual had happened, and they drank coffee together. Rye inquired about her life and where she was from, had nightmares, and although Lily tried to seem casual, she couldn't stop watching because her heart felt like it was about to burst from her chest. Rye got up and moved behind the couch, his fingers grazing the back of Ray's mouth as she smiled after 20 minutes. Leaning in close, Lily froze. Ray murmured, "Come again tomorrow." Lily barely nodded before leaving, saying, "Bring the same coffee and wear your hair down." The delightful dizziness that came from someone upending her entire world and turning it upside down that night. But she was unable to. She couldn't stop thinking about Ray's touch, Ray's gaze, and how Ray had spoken every word as if she already knew it while she was asleep. Lily had no idea what she wanted, but it was obvious that Ray Carter, the most well-known lady in the world, was involved. The following morning, Lily woke up 2 hours earlier than normal because she wanted Mom back, stood before the mirror, unsure of how to style her hair, and vividly recalled Ray's comments, "Where your hair is smooth and slightly wavy from the night's sleep." So she let it fall about her shoulders. Her hands were shaking as she crammed the coffee into the tray, and she applied a tiny bit of lip balm, something she rarely bothered with. Jokingly, she even sprinkled a tiny heart with cinnamon on top of the foam to make sure it was just the way Ray wanted it. Perhaps, though, Rye would remark that the trek to the Asteria was heavier today. As if the air itself knew, things were about to change when Lily came into the lobby and waved to the doorman, who knew her and came in. As the floors ticked up to the top floor, she gripped the tray handle of the golden elevator with tighter fingers, exhaled deeply as she went outside. When Ray answered the door, she was wearing black tights and she wore a white tank top and pulled her hair back in a loose bun. But her slow smile remained the same. Rye said, "You wore it down," as his eyes swept across Lily's face. Looks red in the face. Lily entered and said, "I brought the same coffee with a little something extra." Ray accepted the cup and took a slow, cinnamon-flavored sip today. She approached. She turned around while drinking and hummed to herself on the balcony. "You didn't tell me yesterday. Are you seeing?" "Oh no, I'm not." "Did anyone blink?" "I simply work a lot." And Ray's amused eyebrows narrowed. "So there was no girl waiting at home?" Lily shook her head, saying straightforwardly, "No girl, no guy, good Rye." Having already made up her mind, she approached Lily, set down her coffee, and leaned on the counter a few inches away. "I'd like you to remain for a little while longer. I have the morning off, but my shift—" Ray interrupted Lily as she was starting, saying, "I already called your cafe and told them you were doing a private delivery." And they replied, "Okay." Lily's jaw dropped when she heard that you had 2 hours to spare. "How could you?" "Celebrity benefits," Rye grinned and said. "Now sit." and Lily immediately sat down once more. Same couch, same butterflies in her chest, and she switched on some jazzy, mellow music. She leaned her head while sitting next to her, closer than they had been the day before, glanced back at Lily and said, "You're nervous." To which Lily said, but Lily muttered, "I don't comprehend what this is." Rye stroked a lock of hair behind Lily's ear and said, "This is me liking someone, desiring to know her, perhaps a bit more, but I'm nobody." Lily said, "You're you," Rye replied in a very hushed voice. "That's the whole point." Lily, gazing at her, "Why me? Since you're not pursuing me," Rye grinned gently. "You made me feel normal by bringing coffee and not requesting selfies or autographs." Lily felt her heart pounding in her chest. "And now I can't quit thinking about how you look when you blush." Leaning in just enough to feel the heat, she murmured, "Can I kiss you?" Lily was unable to reply, simply nodded. And at first, her lips were soft and gentle, as if she were testing the situation. Lily didn't draw away as expected. Instead, she leaned in more, allowing the flavor of cinnamon lingering on her lips, the warmth of Ray's flesh, and the intensified kiss. When their hands eventually separated and their breathing quickened, Rye gave her a darker look. Rye muttered, "You should come again tomorrow, every morning." "Please do so," Lily said, unable to believe that the girl who had just brought her coffee was now curled up next to the woman that everyone in the world desired. But Rye only desired her Lily for some reason. Lips still tingling, mind racing. "I walked home that day knowing that nothing would ever be easy again. But perhaps She didn't sleep well that night, and laid in for the first time, her fingers repeatedly grazing her lips as she lay in bed, gazing up at the ceiling, had kissed her Ray Carter in the same way. It seemed unbelievable that a woman had been snuck into every magazine cover, billboard, and movie premiere. Lily never deserved this fantasy, but each time she thought of Ray's gentle touch or Ray's gaze. The following morning, she realized that the kiss was genuine and terrifying. Standing before her small mirror once more, she debated what to wear. She had never been the type of girl who fussed about clothing. But suddenly, even her best jeans felt too simple. So she went with a dark blue pair of jeans and a pastel pink blouse. Soft yet tidy, she knotted her hair halfway up in the hopes that it would give the impression that she wasn't. Even though she was trying too hard, her supervisor arched an eyebrow when she entered the cafe, saying, "Another package to the tower?" he asked. And Lily nodded her red cheeks, saying, "She asked me to. Once more must be a nice tipper," he remarked. Yet a weird smile appeared on his, put a cinnamon heart once more to Ray's normal coffee, and made eyes lily-packed. She took a deep breath before heading to the top floor of the Asteria, where her palms were perspiring. Rye knocked and, very immediately, opened the door as though she had been waiting for this. Rye's hair was damp from a previous event, and she was wearing silky denim shorts and a form-fitting black top that clung to her flawlessly. "You're early, didn't want to take a shower." And Lily couldn't stop watching. Ray grinned. "To arrive late," Lily replied, attempting to appear informal, but her tone was unsteady, moved aside and said, "Come in. I made breakfast." Lily blinked. "You alone cook?" Rye remarked. "When I want to impress someone," as he walked toward the kitchen, which was laden with plates and scrambled eggs. The stomach of Lily growled as the toast, avocado slices, and even fruit were laid in tidy rows. Ray urged, "Eat with me." They sat across from each other before she could stop it. When Rye poured them both juice while the other was brushing their legs on the marble island, it seemed surprisingly normal for a little period. You never saw any cameras, lights, or yelling fans while two women were eating breakfast together. "Dated a girl before?" Rye inquired abruptly, and Lily blinked. "Once in college, ended poorly." Ray cocked her head, asking why Lily was hesitant and didn't want to be, stated that I wasn't attractive enough to meet her friend's Rays, and her eyes clouded. "What a fool." Lily shrugged. When Rye stretched across the table a long time ago, his fingers came gently around. "I hope you realize that." Lily looked down on her heart, thudding, "But you're gorgeous." Nobody had ever spoken it like that, like if it were the truth. Against her ribs, Ray dragged her back to the couch after breakfast. But this time she didn't sit apart, which was the simplest thing in the world. She put her arms around Lily's waist and pulled her onto her lap, causing her breath to catch, said, "You smell like cinnamon," as she nuzzled her neck. "You taste like," Lily returned the coffee whisper, and they shared another, deeper kiss without being cautious. Ray's tentative hands moved over Lily's back, being hard yet tender at every turn. When they eventually tore Rye apart, Lily's skin felt like it was burning. Pressed her forehead to Lily's and said, "Come back after your shift." "I want to see you tonight," Rye said, looked at her with wide eyes and asked, You mean like spend the night? Ray's thumb moved across her jaw. If you want to, Lily stammered, not because she didn't want to, but because she was still in shock that this was all occurring. I'll come, she whispered quietly, and her smile was so radiant that it might melt glaciers. As Lily left the suite, her legs felt like jelly and her heart felt like jelly. Good, I'll be waiting, was performing cartwheels inside her chest. She had no idea what the evening would bring, but she was certain that this was no longer. It was more than simply a coffee delivery. Ray wanted her every night. Lily, and he wasn't just playing, got through her shift that day. But her coworker asked her 2 questions when her hands fumbled at the register and she botched up 2 orders. 3 times she checked the time to see if she was feeling ill, but she wasn't. She was simply so overwhelmed. The minutes passed slowly as she counted down to her final client, so she could eventually depart and see Rai again. When her job ended, she rushed home to change and stood in front of her tiny flat like a chain fastened to her ankle. My heart was racing in my closet. What did someone wear to spend the night with a famous person? Pajamas and lingerie. In the end, she threw a change of clothes and a toothbrush into a basic hoodie and soft cotton shorts. During the entire train ride to the tower, her fingers trembled from her old rucksack, and the sky was black with flickering city lights. She entered the golden elevator, and the ride up was so quiet that her head was racing with questions such as this real? Is Rai serious? And is Lily suitable for someone like her? Rai was standing barefoot in a deep blue silk robe at the charming entrance when the elevator doors opened. Her dry hair cascaded over her shoulders like a cascade. You came, Rai said quietly, and Lily nodded. I told you I. Ray grasped Lily's hand, moved ahead, and dragged her into the suite, lit candles at night, with soft music playing in the background and the city lights glowing dimly. She sat down on the couch and softly pulled Lily into her lap. As the outside lights turned the windows into stars, Rai muttered, You're a little anxious, and Lily acknowledged, You don't have. I just want you close tonight, Ray said, giving her a slow, gentle kiss as if she had all the time in the world to trace little circles on Lily's back, which caused Lily to melt against her. Time seemed to slow down. Rai kissed Lily's neck while taking her time, hugged her waist, and said gently, You're safe here, Rai said. I promise. Lily felt as though she was able to cry since no one had ever made her feel this way. She wanted to see that nobody did. About the celebrity or the wealth, it was Ray's voice, Ray's eyes, and Ray's hands that gave her the impression that she was the only girl in the world. Rai got up and retook Lily's hand before saying, Come to bed, with its cozy lighting and plush bedding. Ray's bedroom seemed too lovely to be touched, so he withdrew, with her pulse pounding. Lily snuggled in beside the covers as they slid in and waited, reclined with their fingers intertwined. Face to face. Are you okay? Rai questioned Lily. More than okay. And they kissed again, more slowly this time, their breath catching, just 2 women discovering one another in the quiet. Nothing hurried or artificial. Eventually, they rested in the black Ray's arm that was wrapped around Lily's waist. She put her lips to Lily's shoulder and said, You're going to be here all night, Rai said. Unless you throw me out. Lily smiled and closed her eyes as Ray laughed and muttered, Never. There was a little silence before she muttered, You come back again, because Rai made her feel alive. Lily knew she would, not because Ray was well-known, wealthy, or attractive. Ray's presence made everything else vanish since, in some way, this felt more than just a passing affair, like the start of something real and dangerous that she couldn't leave behind as sleep drew her closer to Lily. For the first time in years, she was nestled closer to Ray's heart and felt at ease. She would face whatever the next day brought the following morning. When Lily awoke, the gentle bustle of the city outside the enormous windows filled the room with golden light, creating a cozy. Ray was still sleeping next to her, with one arm loosely around Lily's waist, and the silk sheets were glowing. For a little while, Lily remained motionless and gazed at Ray's serene face. In awe that she had never experienced such intimacy before, and her heart grew with an odd mixture of terror and love. Fearful, she slipped out of bed and padded toward the bathroom. Not knowing where any of this was leading, she sprinkled water on her face and combed her hair with her, and her reflection appeared different, strangely softer and more alive. Fingers and looked within, wondering if she was prepared for this to end up in her life. She was simply a coffee girl, and no one could have her since she was so popular and so wanted by everyone. You left the bed, Rai said in a voice, and I returned to the room to see Ray sitting up with the sheets wrapped around her like a robe. Without you, Lily smiled shyly, but I was chilled. still heavy with slumber. Mean to me? I was simply thinking. And Rye stroked the area next to her. So I came to think. Lily got back in and allowed Rye to draw her near once again. What were you doing? Contemplating. Rye pressed her lips gently against Lily's forehead and asked, I'm me, and you're you? I'm just curious how this works. Rye paused. She leaned back a little, her gaze locking with Lily's. I detest it when people say that as if your red carpets and magazine covers aren't important to me. What matters to me is that you smile, nose wrinkles. I appreciate that you make excellent coffee, but please don't treat me like a deity. I merely not wanting to be your secret. Rye went silent as her fingertips touched Lily's. Although this world isn't nice, especially to folks like you. You wouldn't be, Lily said, her brows narrowing slightly. People like me don't mean it like that. Said rapidly, I mean those who are vulnerable to harm when they lack security personnel, attorneys, and public relations managers. The press chooses to delve too far, and Lily tightly averted her gaze, saying, so what? You're shielding me by keeping me hidden, and I'm attempting to figure out how to protect you without keeping you a secret, whispered softly. I've had press-friendly relationships and flings, but this is new for me too. Lily, this is different from fake relationships, Lily said, her heart leaping at that statement, but she didn't trust it completely yet. What if the media learned about it? Rye grabbed her hand, and they discover, but only when you're prepared. That brief statement she had a choice made Lily feel like Ray for the first time, and it warmed her heart. Spent the remainder of the morning with her, not only allowing her to enter her fantasy world, but also allowing her space in her actual world. In whispered chats and entangled in silky sheets, Rye informed her of the industry's push regarding phony. Lily listened with a sense of receiving a key as she saw the grins and contrived romances. By noon, Lily had dressed and prepared to depart, entering a world she had never dreamed about. Rye led her to the door with their fingers clasped together till the last second. Come tomorrow, Rye requested in a voice quieter than normal. Lily replied, I will, and Rye gave her a slow, gentle kiss before saying, text me. And Lily, you don't have to be anyone else but yourself when you go home. Lily's chest when she entered the elevator is the portion I adore the most. Felt as though there was hope, or the beginning of something both strong and delicate. She had never ventured to dream of it, but she was certain that she was no longer merely Ray's nightly visitor, was becoming into something more. As the days that followed resembled images from the lives of someone more glitzy and more fortunate than Lily could have ever dreamed. Daring delivered coffee every morning, but now it wasn't just. The span of time between delivery was a chore that served as a gateway into Ray's arms. Like elastic, and she spent each night in Ray's apartment, wrapped in silk sheets, learning the curve of millions wanted a woman, but only she was permitted to touch him. Their connection was irresistible, not only gentle and kind, but also fierce, with a heat Lily had never experienced before. And she understood how to kiss like. Rye spoke the phrase every night, and she meant to look at Lily as if the entire world had vanished behind her eyes. Identical phrases prior to falling asleep, and Lily always did. But it wasn't all. By the conclusion of the week, things started to change in Ray's daydream. She was pacing as Lily was drinking coffee at the edge of the bed. What's wrong? Lily inquired, changing the tone. Cup down. Rye didn't respond immediately. Instead, she picked up her phone and read a message. They know she sighed and sat up after dropping it on the couch. Who knows? Rye wiped her forehead. Straightening up, paparazzi. A picture of the person that followed you here last night is not very clear. Lily's stomach fell. Is it out? Not yet, Rye replied. It's definitely you. They're attempting to stop it. But once one outlet has it, spreads like wildfire. Lily was having trouble breathing. What does this mean? It's going to become nasty, Rye remarked. So they'll be sitting next to her. Investigate your life, family, social media, and anything else. They'll pervert it, utilize it to fabricate stories. Lily gazed down at her lap without my request. I'm very sorry, Rye muttered, grabbing her hand. I should have been more, Lily murmured, her voice barely audible. What happens now? Careful. Rye stared at. Her jaw is tight, but it's up to you whether you want to go. I won't hold it against you. Lily drew her hand back and stood up, saying, I'll do everything in my power to protect you. Don't do what you want me to go away so that your life remains tidy. Because I care about you. I'm giving you a way out. So why do I feel like you're already ignoring me? Ray took a step back, her face dropping as Lily forced the words out before she could stop them. I'm just scared, she said. I've never had a real person like you. And now that I do, I'm afraid I'll lose you to the world I live in, Lily said softly, adding, then let me decide. Don't choose for me, looked at her, then approached cautiously and gathered her in a close hug. Okay, she said in a whisper, you decide. Didn't know how strong she was, but she knew she didn't want to give Rye up, not yet. She clutched Rye close to her bosom. Despite the stories circulating outside, she stayed home that night and they cuddled up in silence. The suite was simply them, feisty and furious, descending into something that her phone buzzed the following morning with a message from an unknown number that neither of them could quite identify. One link, late at night, a hazy photograph shows Lily entering the Asteria and passing beneath it. Ray Carter's mystery girl, secret relationship, or scandal in the bolded caption. Her palm trembled as she demonstrated to Rye, who gazed at the screen before throwing the phone away and saying, "Fuck them. It's already," Lily muttered. "I'm not letting them watch." And Rye agreed. Lily wasn't sure what frightened her more, the press or how much Ray was already needed, but she knew she couldn't go right now. By lunchtime, the picture had gone viral, but not before the storm struck more forcefully than any of them had anticipated. Twitter threads, fan websites, and celebrity gossip sites are all over the place. Lily's image appeared in stories she never would have thought to be a part of about Ray Carter's coffee addiction. Ray's new flame was revealed. Some were inquisitive, while others were harsh. People poured in comments, critiquing her appearance, attire, and work, and they even went back and made fun about her phone kept buzzing in her apartment. Her past, and even her family, sat next to her. Angry yet, after turning off all notifications, she gazed at the wall of Ray's lovely and shocked quiet, powerless. But there was only so much. Rye, I swear I'll sue them to stop this. Could you do the internet? It thrived on scandal and didn't care about litigation or the truth. I didn't sign up for this, and it hurt Lily to feel like her life had been stolen and transformed into something she didn't understand. Muttered, "I know," and stretched for her hand. "I'm very sorry they're calling me a..." The gold digger might remark, "I'm using you to get famous." Ray's jaw clenched. Lily responded, "They need a villain, no matter who it is, but I'm not one." "I understand that," Rye murmured. "Hold her close." But Lily remained silent. Even Ray's warmth by her side was insufficient to silence the whirlpool of her thoughts that night. She imagined that at one point she sneaked out of bed, went to the enormous windows, gazing down at the glistening metropolis below. She felt so tiny and vulnerable in the shadows. She hardly recognized herself in the glass's reflection the following morning. But when Ray woke Lily up, she made up her mind, was already dressed in a basic, tidy outfit rather than her typical jeans or sweatshirt, and her attitude was composed. Lily replied quietly, "I'm going home for a bit." As her alarm went off, "I need some distance." So I nodded to clear my thoughts as you were leaving my sight. Thought independently. "Why aren't you leaving?" Rye asked. Standing no, Lily stated. "I love being with you, but I don't want to lose myself." Lily's face was in her hands as Rye moved closer in this mess. "But you don't have to. Take your time. Explain. And just promise me anything." Lily looked up. "What?" "Come back to me no matter what the world says." Lily offered her a tiny. The next days were more difficult than Lily had anticipated. Yet I shall smile with exhaustion. She felt the silence envelop her like a chilly sheet in her small apartment. She quit her job, didn't respond to messages, and social media was still overflowing with hate and obsession. But gradually, people started to speak up after something changed, and some of her former clients even stood up for her. From the cafe spoke sweet things about her, and a college buddy talked about how Lily had supported her through a difficult moment. In a statement, Ray also made it obvious what I do in my private life, without specifically naming Lily. Love isn't a crime, life isn't a scandal, and I shouldn't punish someone for my decisions. Support flowed in from unexpected places as it went viral. Some fans turned around, while others didn't. But the clamor started. Ray wrote Lily a note on the 6th day to soften. "The world is still noisy, but I'm..." Lily looked at the message for a while, silent without you, and missed Rye. The way Ray gazed at her, the warmth of her hands, the softness of her lips. Lily packed a bag that night without telling anyone. She was more than enough. Answered the door in her pajamas, her eyes wide. And she didn't post anything. Lily, incredulous that you returned, went inside and put her arms around Ray without a word. And she felt whole for the first time in days. They didn't talk much that evening. They just embraced each other in the city. The reporters was still watching, but Rye was the only person inside those boundaries. And Lily, and that was sufficient. As Lily woke up, the warmth of the early sun streaming through the curtains. This time, the sensation of Ray's arms seemed different, not just exciting or passionate. But firm and secure, she rotated gently and noticed that Rai was already observing her eyes, with a drowsy smile pulling at her lips. Rai nodded and said, "You remained," running a palm over Ray's cheek. "Returned. That's what counts." Rai bent over and kissed her forehead, her touch now more cautious, as if she held something priceless and fragile. "I wasn't sure you would," she added, "but you had every reason to go for a walk." "Away." "I almost did," Lily acknowledged, adding that it also became black offline. She caressed her chest here, "But I couldn't stop thinking about you instead of the movie star. You are the one who prepared my breakfast and gave me a kiss as if I were important. Which is why I returned for Ray's. Ray's fingers entwined with hers is all that counts to me. Slept in bed with nice sheets that morning without anyone knocking. It felt like the world's cacophony couldn't reach them here." Lily, as phones rang for the first time since the photo was leaked, discovered that, after Ray had made her coffee, she was smiling once more. Not the careful sort, but genuine smiles that reached her eyes. Lily had her legs tucked under her Ray's arm as they sat on the couch like two regular women. "Yeah, with cinnamon." It seemed natural to wrap across her shoulders, as if it had always been this way. But by the afternoon, reality had caught up, and Ray's manager called once more. Ray answered on speaker this time, making it more urgent so Lily could hear all we needed. In order to make a move, the speaker stated that although the press is calm, there is now interest in a formal declaration, some group photos, perhaps even an interview. Interviews, Rai stated strongly, but the manager urged, "You have to own it if you want to change the story." Rai looked at Lily and asked, "What do you want to do?" Lily, "The tabloids control the story. This affects you more than me. You don't have any control over it," Ray remarked, blinking at me. Lily hesitated before taking a breath. Then she said, "If I'm going to be seen, I want it to be on our terms rather than theirs. I no longer want to be the secret girl who stays hidden behind closed doors." Her eyes flickered with pride as she nodded, and we told them jointly over the following few. Days passed quickly, and Lily consented to a straightforward, non-glam photo shoot, teams in a park close to the city's fringe, without any fashion stylists. The pictures were candid. Ray was wearing jeans and had hands smiling like a couple in love. Lily wore sunglasses, her favorite denim jacket, and her genuine smile. The interview was brief and candid, discussing how they connected and how they met. Was unexpected but unquestionable. Lily spoke with care, selecting words that seemed genuine. According to her, "I fell for a woman who listened to me rather than a famous person, seen me while nobody else did," and the public's reaction was divided. Some people commended others stuck to their resentment and threw hate like stones. But the balance was changing daily as more people shared their stories of support. Headlines softened. Lily's transition from barista to Ray Carter's lover was still unreal. They sat on Ray's balcony one evening, roughly 2 weeks after the interview, and watched the stars. Lily held a mug of, Lily murmured softly, "Do you ever think this won't last?" as she leaned into Ray's shoulder with steaming tea in her hands. Rai looked at, "What's up with her? Perhaps this life is too strange for you." As I struggled to breathe, Rai pulled the mug out of her hands and put it down before cuddling Lily's cheek with both hands. "I don't care if the world keeps spinning and hurling its chaos at us. What matters to me is that you're still alongside me at the end of the day, and the fact that you returned and stayed says, I need to know everything." Lily's throat constricted, and she put her forehead down against the sunshine, "And I'm staying put." They kissed again slowly and deeply, and this time, the kind of assurance that words could not contain. While the city lights in the balcony were softly brushed by the breeze, Lily noticed something shimmering below. This wasn't a passing fancy. It was a phase or a mistake, but it was love that was untidy and unexpected. She had come to deliver coffee, but she ultimately gave birth to her heart, and Ray inadvertently gave hers back.